Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
Thank you, Marty White. Good morning, folks. Bobby Likis here as our illustrious leader there, Marty White. Marty White goes back a long way. He was, before he retired, a local DJ and more. He had a hand in many local not-for-profit events, and he would come and he would be the DJ, or better yet, he would be the MC of a lot of events. And he just got a terrific voice. I always wanted to have a voice like Marty White. He's got that. I don't know. It's like I always thought that they were using Fabio EQs to make his voice sound like that. You know, whatever it does, got that. He could talk in a regular voice, and then all of a sudden, that mellow comes out. You know, that true broadcaster. And I'm not talking about, you know, in the way back before my days in the 50s, where you had that broadcaster to sound like that. You know, that's not the way we do it all anymore. Hey, anyway, folks, not to digress here, but we're going to have a report from Daytona Beach from our favorite motorsports director, Terry Savison. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by Diablo Sport. You can take the guesswork out of trying to pair performance products. The Reaper Stage 1 kit is a performance combo designed to improve power, drivability, and mileage potential. Drive to DiabloSport.com for all the high-performance information. And stay tuned, and I'll be back with your car questions. If your vehicle's a little sluggish, try Berryman's B12 Chem Tool. Using HEST or high-energy solvent technology, Berryman's B12 Chem Tool dissolves gum, varnish, and carbon deposits in the fuel system, which help restore lost power and peak performance. But don't take our word for it. Richard M's '99 Acura had 200,000 miles and was idling roughly. He put a bottle of Berryman B12 Chem Tool, and the idle smoothed out, and the car ran noticeably better. Learn more about Berryman B12 Chem Tool and other great products at BerrymanProducts.com. Motorrad, a longtime OE supplier, is the leader in automotive thermostats and fuel and oil coolant caps. Motorrad's state-of-the-art quality control and functional testing systems ensure high-quality, long-lasting products. Motorrad delivers world-class product development, providing all the parts and accessories needed to do the job right the first time, every time. Motorrad offers the best coverage of thermostats and closure caps in the world for virtually any vehicle and engine on or off the road. Motorrad, leading the way in coverage and service. A customer dropped off a '99 Ford Ranger for a routine oil change service, and she mentioned that the truck was misfiring on occasion. The road test confirmed a misfire under load, even though there was no check engine light or any other codes to be found. While performing the oil service, we found the coolant level low, sending up an immediate red flag. A quick check of the ignition system revealed the number 5 cylinder was the missing culprit. We pulled out all 6 plugs and did a quick compression test. All cylinders were pretty close at 200,000 miles. We then inspected the plugs closely, and the one from number 5 had traces of coolant on it. Antifreeze will leave a greenish yellow tint on the electrodes. This engine had a small head gasket leak or a cracked cylinder head. Teardown and inspection was more than the truck was worth, so we suggested K-Seal. We poured in the product, drove the truck, topped off the coolant, and installed a fresh set of spark plugs. It's been over a month, and the car's doing great. For more information, go to kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Rosie Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle loaded or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your hosts, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with today's broadcast. I want to welcome you. I want to welcome in a new teammate, and Hannah. No, it's not. And this is really, it's never happened before. Our illustrious Hannah left us and went back to her schooling and some other obligations that she had. Their Saturday mornings, she didn't have room to squeeze us in or to keep us squeezed in. And so Jonathan, who was in the house, of course, Jonathan said, well, I'll see if I can find someone. We all look for someone as a screener, and really not a screener. You know, screens when you screen calls. Actually, she just takes your calls because we don't really screen out. I don't know that we screen out anyone. We just have to put them in order. Anyway, so Hannah, too, is here. Just so happens that the young lady, this is her, I don't know, is this your first job, Hannah? Is this her first job? Or do you know? You think so? Well, good. Oh, you don't think so? Oh, okay. All right. Well, terrific. I stand corrected. Okay. Here, we're going to go to Daytona Beach, and then I see that Jam is on the phone, but we want to take a little trip and see what's going on in the racing capital of the world, Daytona International Speedway. And let's invite Terry. Oh, Terry Sabiston. Terry, don't you just love radio?
I do. I really enjoy it. To be truthful, I'm probably as much a radio addict as you are. So it's on all the time, and now with Bluetooth and everything else, I can even have it on, and people don't know I have it on.
You know, and to that end, Terry, and folks, just for you to know, because we invite people into our studio, and we have on a regular basis someone coming in from out of town and even in town in the studio here. Radio is actually more difficult than television. And I started in television because with television you have the video, you have the graphics, you have the eyesight, and for that reason we created Watch Bobby Live, so we have some video to go with our radio. But Terry, to describe, and I'm going to turn the mic to you. To describe what's going on in Daytona in words that people understand and can see is a real talent. So with that, you are challenged with giving us a picture of the Daytona International Speedway. What's up?
It is a gorgeous day here at the racetrack. This is an exciting day because we finally begin the race car season for the Monster Energy Cup Series and have cars on track here at 10:30 this morning for the first time this year. And I'm in the middle of Daytona National Speedway. This is a small city that's slowly growing, Bobby. 10 days ago, you could throw a rock and not hit a thing, and now everywhere you turn, there's RVs, there's tents. It's the concession stands are opening up. All the exhibitions are opening up. It's amazing. We've got short track racing going on out in a little concrete pad with USAC quarter midgets. We've got the Clash coming up tomorrow, the ARCA race today. The fans, the whole town is just alive with energy. And then there's this stadium just waiting for it, for these engines to crank and let loose as we got the Clash cars go out for an hour and a half, 20 drivers that are going to be running in the Clash. And we're going to see drafting probably within the first hour or so here when the cars get on track. So really, it's a great day to be at Daytona International Speedway.
So Terry, for our listeners and for those who may not be familiar, and I doubt that very many people could really give a description, what's the difference between ARCA and the NASCAR, the Daytona 500, and the regular NASCAR throttle body? When I say it, I don't mean throttle body, but restrictor plate. So are ARCA cars restricted or what?
They've got a sealed Elmore engine. And yes, for this race, this is the restrictor plate air. Actually, the end of it, I believe they're running tapered spacers now too. But the ARCA series is limited. I believe that Elmore engine's a little over 600 horsepower, and I think they're only getting four or five out of it. Now, if you don't have to run the sealed Elmore engine, but if you do run the old, what they call the vintage engine, then you get a real restrictor plate stuck in there, and these guys in the Elmores just pull away from you at the start because they've got more throttle response.
Wow!
So that's the difference. And then two, we're slowly moving ARCA into the NASCAR world. We've got all the carbon fiber body parts now, and so I can remember 5 years ago, you'd be going through the garage area and you could hear the sheet metal pounding. Well, now that's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. There's no sheet metal. And so the cars, there's no more tweaking on that. It's pretty much set. You can't play a lot with that. So that's changed. So they've sealed the motors. They've made the bodies consistent. And so now it's taken some dollars that you don't have to spend and invest and made it where it cuts costs. And so you've got some great teams out here. And what's neat is most of the teams are historic teams with Venturini and Bobby Gerhardt and Hillenberg, which raced 25 and 30 years ago, are now the team owners, and these young kids are coming up. And that's just it. We got two young men on the front row. We almost had a Petty on the front row on the pole, but he was front row outside. And then on the pole, a young man by the name of Christian Akis, 18 years old. And so we got two 18-year-olds leading the pack to the start-finish line this afternoon in the ARCA race. So, and at 183 mile an hour qualifying speed.
183 miles an hour. So you ask an 18-year-old kid, excuse me, an 18-year-old young man or woman, what are you going to do this afternoon? Well, I'm going to go out to the track and try the car. Oh, yeah, well, tell us about that. Well, I've got 183 miles an hour, and I got somebody on my bumper that's, 6 inches away? Really?
You got 39 other people out there with you, and you hope they're all friendly.
So the roar of the engines coming off turn one, folks, if you've never been to Daytona, you really need to go at least one time in your life. And of course, we've got the Daytona, the 500 that's going to be coming up. That's the big event. But you should sit in the stands and listen to the roar of those engines. I don't know collectively what the total horsepower is, but the noise is not just deafening. It's like music. And then you watch those cars go by, and the Doppler effect. It's just really, really. It's entertaining. It's exciting, and it makes mine pound fast just thinking about it.
You become part of it, Bobby, and being part of it. WNDB. This is our 60th year of broadcasting from Daytona International Speedway on WNDB.
That's amazing. Okay, let's cap it up. 60 years of WNDB. I've got 27 of those years. Bobby Likis Car Clinic right there on News Talk 1150 WNDB, and also are we still simulcast on 93.5 FM?
Yes, sir.
Well, see, that's what's really great about the Daytona area is that it's an area that, for its size, it really is a leader of states in cities and states throughout the nation. I mean, you've got Daytona, you got Detroit as the car, capital of the world with regard to OEMs. And of course, a lot of other states they're making new cars. And then you got the Indianapolis 500. And you got the Charlotte and what have you, but there's nothing that I know of, and am I biased? Perhaps, but the bottom line, bottom line, the stadium, a $400 million. I started to say upgrade. It's a 400. It's as though a hurricane went through and destroyed the old one.
Yeah.
And yet you guys raced there during the 2013 to 2016 Daytona Rising project. Unbelievable, Terry.
It was, and now we got one Daytona across the street, which has become the staging ground for the Speedway in every way. From having the kickoff for NASCAR with the haulers over there on Wednesday night, Caleb Lee playing concert out there Wednesday night. The crowds they've given them a place to go to where you can just go across the street from the Speedway and hang out, and the entertainment complex, from movies to restaurants to entertainment on a stage. So, Daytona and Daytona National Speedway, they've grasped the local community.
So one Daytona then is a new mall or a new. Describe it.
Entertainment complex. The first thing you see in one Daytona is the 9-story NASCAR mirrored building, which is NASCAR headquarters, and that's Daytona 1, if you get that. And then back behind it, we've got one hotel that's open, another that's prepared to open. It's going to be a 4-star hotel, a luxury movie theater. We've got ice cream parlors. We've got a 500 museum that Teresa France put together. We've got just several restaurants, Bass Pro Shops, and the guitar place, just more stuff and growth going on there in the past year and a half than you've ever seen in this area. It used to be the GE complex. That's where General Electric was based at one time here in Daytona.
Wow.
And that is now one Daytona.
Well, it's just all so great, and it's great to hear from you. And we're out of time, but I really appreciate you chiming in on Saturdays whenever there's something going on, and it just seems like that there's a lot going on continuously from nonprofit organizations. I know that one day when you call in, let's spend a couple of minutes on all of the not-for-profit events that the France family, the Daytona International Speedway, and the management provides for the community and for the nation there on the track as well. There's a lot. I know there's a lot of events that are based there that are really. Anyway, I'm out of time, and I really appreciate, Terry, always hearing from you. I'll let you go for the ARCA race later on this afternoon, right?
Right, we'll be calling out Hill Overton, Kevin Holtz, John Phillips, and me will be calling that race live. Tune in at newsdaytonabeach.com and listen live all over the world, and you can hear us call that race on WNDB.
All right, my friend. Thank you. Have a great day. Enjoy. Folks, I'll be back. Don't touch that dial. Entertainment, GPS, heated seats, backup cameras, and start-stop technology. Just a few of the electrical demands we put on today's vehicles. AGM or absorbent glass mat batteries are up to the challenge. They're precision engineered to offer the ultimate combination of power, durability, and reliability. What affects battery performance? Harsh climates, frequent stopping, and aggressive driving all put wear on your battery. With its compressed cell design and glass mat separators, AGM batteries are built to excel in these types of conditions. Learn more about AGM advantages at autobatteries.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
The months between October and February top the list for accidents, damage, and injuries. And while safety technology on today's vehicles is great, it's no match for Mother Nature. CarStar is the authority on winter driving accidents, repairing thousands of vehicles each year damaged in snowy, icy conditions. Here are a few winter driving tips courtesy of CarStar. Check visibility. Add de-icer to your windshield washer fluid, make sure your wipers are free of ice and all mirrors are clear, and check vehicle lighting. Slow down and stay back. Drop your speed to a safe limit and leave extra distance between your vehicle and the one in front of you. And if your rear wheels skid, take your foot off the accelerator and steer in the direction you want your front wheels to go. If your front wheels skid, take your foot off the gas and shift to neutral. As you skid sideways, the vehicle will slow and traction will return. Find more safety tips at carstar.com. At CarStar, they don't just repair cars, they repair your car.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
Higher, 98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We're going to go right back to the phones. I'll invite you to call and say hello to Hannah when you do. This is her first day in the seat, really. 888-227-2546. That's 888 Car Clinic. By the way, the Society of Automotive Engineers, that would be the SAE, has set standards, and they continue to update standards for self-driving automobiles. There are 6 categories. I'm not going to go through those. I'm going to go to the phone. We're going to take a call from Mississippi. But first, I want you to know that there are 6 categories. And there's the self-driving 0, then 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 levels. So there are 5 levels of self-driving, and then there's the 0, which means we drive it. Now, can you imagine? I had this weird picture after talking with Terry, with Daytona. Can you imagine there's 35 cars on the track and there are no drivers? Fabio, what do you think about that? No drivers. I mean, there'd be no wrecks. They wouldn't have to stop for any bio breaks. They wouldn't have to stop for anything. I mean, you know, it's like, okay, cars, go race. Oh, and don't bump and don't wreck and don't, you know, how do you do that? So that would be really, now there's the true test. When we get, you know, in a short duration, when we get to the point where we're seeing self-driving automobiles and with LIDAR and all of the terrific radar and mapping, and for that, for your information, folks, the self-driving cars not only use radar and which is LIDAR, which is the number one 360-degree laser camera, or it sends out waves and retrieves those, but also a self-driving car maps your neighborhood. So if you go home tonight in your self-driving car, and then you go home and, you know, your neighborhood, and then they put a new stop sign in your neighborhood tomorrow, that vehicle will map that new stop sign to know that it's there. So that's where you have this vehicle-to-vehicle, you know, and crash avoidance, and now it's V2X, which means it's vehicle to territory, and that's where we're going to see where the curb or the stoplight talks to the vehicle. And even now in some cities, which I wish we had that in our city, the traffic lights can be controlled by the EMS, the emergency vehicles, so that all of the lights turn red a half a block or a block ahead of the ambulance that's on the way through that intersection. Doesn't mean that an ambulance is going to run through the intersection, because, you know, somebody could run the light, but definitely will slow the traffic and alert the traffic. All the good stuff. It really is so interesting. Let's go to Mississippi, take a call from Jim, and then let me hear from you at 888-227-2546. And one more little thing, Jim, be patient with me. Coming up is Kristen Alexander, who is the marketing manager for Maven. Maven is a GM initiative. Well, it's no longer an initiative. They've rolled it out. If you have a gig, you know, for delivering groceries or for picking up, or you're a Lyft driver and you don't have a car, you get on the Maven list and you rent a car from Maven. Now, it's going to be a GM, obviously, because it's a GM, but the insurance is paid and what have. And think about it. I mean, think about it. If you wanted to be an Uber driver, but you really just didn't have a nice car, or your car wasn't dependable, I mean, think about it. And a reason that's a really a big plus is because if you had a lot of money to have a car, you probably wouldn't need the job anyway. So it's an attribute and it's an asset, it being Maven, to the community efforts, because you can sign on. Now let's shift the gear. What if you have a car that's in your garage more than it's on the street and you don't use it? You can rent it to Maven. Now, I'd have issues with renting my car for sure, but you know what? That's not a bad gig, no pun intended, to have your car in your garage and then you put it on the Maven site and it's rentable. So your next door neighbor comes over, knocks on the door and said, "Hey, this is Jerry, and I've rented your car today from 2 to 4 p.m. I got to go make a couple of $100. How cool is that? Anyway, we're going to hear more about that from Kristen Alexander coming up, who has already clicked in on the phone. But first, let's go to Mississippi. Jim, thank you for your patience. Always good to hear from you.
Good morning, Bobby. I'd like to rent that Viper.
Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry. It's already rented for the year.
I had to throw that in there. Bobby, I'm 69 years old now.
You are? You're an old guy. You're an old guy. You old guys. How's your memory?
Oh, I'm still 18 in my mind. Just my body's getting older.
Oh, yeah. I hear you.
When I was a kid, they used to have a boat races out here in a lake called Bogahoma Lake on Sundays, like the first or second Sunday of each month. I really enjoyed it. We had a circle track downtown Laurel, and that was great. I used to live about 3/4 of a mile from that first turn. And on Monday nights when they run them super modified,
right,
you'd have to hold the dishes on the walls. It was just that bad, but I enjoyed it.
I can only imagine, you know, at one of our first stations, we had 4 stations in 2 states and then grew that to 150 stations in multiple states, not every state. And now we're global because we have Watch Bobby Live. One of our stations, of course, our inaugural station was WNDB in Daytona, and we're still on that station 27 years later. And we're no longer on this station, but Jackson, Mississippi was a huge station there. And I forget the name of the lady who was the general manager. She was tough as nails, sweetest lady, and I met her. I went over to the station and met her. And there was this big building, Jim, and I said, "Wow, this is a big station." I had to walk around the back of the building and stairs like a escape stairs, you know, metal stairs that went up to the back of the building, and that's where the station was. And there were wires and microphones. It looked like somebody took 10 rooms, and then a hurricane went through there, and then you'd have people coming in, and they'd hook up to a microphone and the station. I'm sure that it's, you know, more sophisticated these days, but that was 25 years ago. And I forget the name of the station, you know, shame on me. But let's talk about your Nissan exterior. Exterior.
Okay. The check engine light come on I've got it parked right now. The check engine light come on about 3 weeks ago. I took it down and had it checked. They told me the left catalytic converter was giving me problems.
Okay.
Now, I've heard you talk many a day about pour and pray. I've also heard you talk about stuff that actually works. Because you're not going to sit there and tell one thing. And like Paul Harvey's the best salesman in the world. He could convince you had a problem and tell you he had a fix for it. But what do they make that I can add to this gas, this oil, to clean one out or keep them clean?
Well, to the oil or to the gas?
To either one. Something to keep, I guess to the gas, because
let me say this.
Anything I can put in the gas or the oil that will help clean or might clean out this one that's giving me problems.
Okay, I have just the product, but let me, as a precursor, let me tell you this. And for those folks who tuned in, when Jim mentions pour and pray, I coined that phrase. Well, I didn't really coin it. I shared it with everyone on Car Clinic. I learned that phrase from the guru, Rossen, and Mr. Rossen, who was the PhD in chemistry for BG Products in Wichita, Kansas. And he said, "Yeah, Bobby, we got these pour and prays." Now they sell pour and prays. And that's what he called it. I said, "What's a pour and pray?" He said, "That's where the owner of a car has a problem with the engine, and they buy a product off the parts shelf and pour it in the gas tank and pray it fixes the engine." And I laughed because I said, "Well, you sell them." He said, "We sell stuff that works." He said, "But there are a lot of pour and prays." He said, "But even our products, you know, you're not going to fix something broken by pouring something in the can." He was very, he reminded me of my grandfather. He reminded me of my grandfather's grandfather's grandfather. I mean, this guy, and not that he was old, but that he was wise, and he never, that I know of, lied. He didn't push the truth. And if you ask him a question, and then if you jumped on board and thought, "Well, that's really cool," he said, "No, wait, it's not quite that easy," you know. So to that end, we talk about Berryman products. And for your information, Jim, Berryman Products does make, and I like to go back the ways too. When I first heard of Berryman Products, it was through their transmission additive that even before those of us that know and have credibility in the automotive industry knew about pouring additives into like transmissions, and it was Berryman's transmission additive that first turned me on, and we had that on our shelf, and it was also approved by Chrysler Corporation. And if you look in any owner's manual, and I've had an occasion to look into, just last night, I was looking through 212 pages of the new Smart Car manual because I bought a new Smart Car, a 16 model that's a new, all new, bumper to bumper, and I was trying to educate myself on what was in that vehicle. And I'll tell you, it's amazing. Anyway, in the Smart Car manual of 2016 or 18 or 19, it says engine additives or fuel additives, and it says don't use them. But then it says, but if you do, be sure you use a Mercedes additive. So there is a place for additives in an automobile. For you, there is an engine oil cleaner that is produced by Berryman Products, and then the Berryman B12 Chem Tool. And Chem Tool is a branding phrase, a name that sounded kind of funny for me the first time I ever heard it, but it's a tool that's a chemical. It's a chemical tool. And I think maybe it was kind of naive on my part that not to recognize that, but the B12 Chem Tool is what I recommend that you can pour in your tank. And you don't have to pray it'll work, because it will work. And it's not going to fix a broken valve spring. You know that, and I know that. But you can also they have an engine conditioner and cleaner that you also can add to the oil. And I'll tell you something. Here's the bottom line with oil. For those of you who change oil whenever you think about it, the worst thing you can do is think that changing oil and filter means that you're maintaining your automobile, because that's not the case at all. Because every time you change oil and filter, whatever's left in the engine, and there's a lot of oil left, half a quart, sometimes a quart of oil left in an engine, the first thing that does is pollute the new batch of oil, literally. So there's no way except for having a brand new engine just out of the machine shop that's just assembled and run, and drain that oil and then put a new batch in. It's called a first fill. When you put that in, therein lies the cleanest that oil will ever be in that engine, because no matter what you do after you run an engine and the oil gets dirty, which that's what it's made to do, you drain that oil, there is a certain amount of old toxic oil left over in the engine. Jim, always good to hear from you. Coming up, folks, it's Kristen Alexander, and then I'll take your calls, or Miss Hannah will, at 888-227-2546 when I come back. We recently sat down with Kate Searlick, Global Product Management Lead with Johnson Controls. Kate talked about the advantages of AGM batteries, noting they outperform traditional flooded batteries when partially charged, a key benefit if your normal driving consists of shorter trips. Let's hear from Kate.
Today's charging systems are not negatively affected by installing an AGM battery, and no modifications are needed for the alternator or the charging system. In fact, an AGM battery actually performs better when partially charged than a standard flooded battery. This means if you're not driving long enough distances to fully charge the battery, an AGM battery more efficiently performs and not consume additional power from the alternator. We were able to validate this in fleet testing we conducted in Las Vegas, where we witnessed AGM batteries providing up to twice the service life of a standard flooded battery.
AGM batteries help meet the electrical demands put on today's vehicles, and Johnson Controls is the world's largest producer of automotive AGM batteries. Learn more at autobatteries.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Give us a call at 888 Car Clinic and I'll help you solve your car challenges. Okay, folks, financial resolutions. Time to save more money. A top choice for many. The gig economy has provided many Americans with both short and long-term income options. Transportation space has offered countless opportunities for people to earn. GM's personal mobility brand Maven offers a number of opportunities to earn. And here to talk about the Maven platform and how you can take advantage is Kristen Alexander, Maven Marketing Manager. Kristen, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thanks so much for having me.
Kristen, give our Car Clinic listeners and viewers the basics. What is Maven, and how can folks get signed up if they're thinking about entering the gig economy?
Sure. Maven is a car sharing platform. So we allow people to have access to cars by the hour, by the day, or by the week. And we also have an offering that allows people who own a car to be able to make money from their car. So let me unpack that and talk through that a little bit. Maven Car Sharing is what we have located in 17 cities across North America. And that's where people, if maybe they don't own a car, can access it by the hour or by the day, all through an app. It's easy to go and download the app from the App Store, the Google Play Store, and sign up for a free lifetime membership. Now, to help grow that fleet, we have a lot of demand coming from our drivers wanting to rent our cars, and we wanted to unlock special value for General Motors owners. So if you own a 2015 or newer Cadillac, Chevrolet, Buick, or GMC car or truck, you can actually sign up to list your car with Maven. So when you're not using it, you can make money from it. And we know that we all love our cars, and when we're driving them, we love them. But they often sit for upwards of 90% of the day. So it just makes sense to think that when you're not using your car, it can be a way to earn some passive income. Now, you had also mentioned the gig economy, and Maven does have an offering for that as well. And the gig economy is really this idea of freelance work, wanting to have jobs on demand when you want them. And the most prevalent jobs are in the ride share, so driving for Uber or Lyft or even for deliveries, whether it's for Shipt, Instacart, Grubhub. And what we have is a really flexible offering that allows people who maybe own a car and don't want to use their own, or they don't own a car, that they're able to have weekly rentals through Maven Gig. And that means that they can have really flexible weekly ownership of these cars with insurance included, unlimited miles, and that they can drive for any of the rideshare or delivery services that they're approved for.
So Kristen, what's the cost to the member, and what type vehicles does Maven offer for its gig service?
So we have free lifetime membership for all of our drivers. Again, you just can sign up by downloading the app. It's a really easy sign-up process, just giving a few pieces of information about yourself, putting in your driver's license and a valid credit card. And for cars, we have a range of cars, whether it's, a small car with a Chevrolet Cruze, more mid-size with a Chevrolet Malibu, also have SUVs. And for our, we also include Chevrolet Bolt EVs. So really excited to start to tap into the electric vehicles.
Quickly, another category is Maven Peer car sharing, which basically allows users to rent out their vehicles. Give us a brief overview of this service and how it works.
Yeah, so it's really easy where owners who aren't using their cars and want to maybe see ownership in a new light. I know that we've all traditionally thought of our cars as being our own, but when you really start to think about the fact that your car can sit idle 90% of the day, and that, we all work really hard for our paychecks, and 50% of our paycheck goes towards our house and our car. So maybe there's a new way to look at this asset. So what owners are able to do if they own a 2015 model year or newer, Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, or Cadillac car or truck, they can go to Maven.com and click on List Your Car. Just answer a few questions about yourself and your car, where you plan on parking it. From there, we'll have a Maven onboarding mentor give the owner a call, answer any additional questions that they may have, and then set up an onboarding appointment. This onboarding appointment takes about 3 hours, and during that time, we're going to install a device into the car that will allow for keyless sharing. That means that, once your car is listed and it's available in the Maven app, you don't need to go and meet the drivers for each of these rentals. We see that our rentals happen on demand, same day. So you want to be able to just sit back, let your car be listed, and have that hassle-free rentals happen. No need to meet. It's all through the app. And then during all of those reservations, they are covered, the drivers are covered by a $1 million insurance policy, and for the owners, we have 24/7 owner support. And then the owners earn 60% from each rental and get paid out on a monthly basis.
And so far, how has this been working, and do you have plans to expand into even more markets than you are now?
So we launched in July, and we've expanded already to 10 markets. We've really rapidly scaled, and we've seen a lot of success, especially when the owners have their first rental. They really have that aha moment that my car can earn me money. In Detroit alone, we've been able to double our fleet and triple our stations, so now offering more vehicles, different types of vehicles, and being able to expand our footprint, which our drivers are really excited about.
So if someone's interested in gig driving using Maven or peer car sharing, what's the best way to get more information?
Visit maven.com to learn more information. From there, we have a full list of FAQs and a lot of really good information so people can determine which service is best for them and be able to sign up.
Sounds like a terrific idea and a great business plan. Kristen Alexander, marketing manager for Maven. So, folks, if you need to rent a car for a gig, or if you have a car that you'd like to rent to someone else for a gig, Maven has you covered. Kristen, thank you so much for joining us. Again, that website is maven.com?
Yes, maven.com.
Thank you again for joining us on Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Terrific to hear what GM's doing to explore and to create and offer to the consumers a much-needed service and an opportunity to earn money. Thanks for joining us on Car Clinic.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, and again, that's maven.com. I have to kind of, in my own mind, and interesting information. And Fabio, I'm not sure that I could rent my car. Now, I mean, mine's a luxury and what have you, but let's just say a regular car. I'm not sure I could rent a car and feel good about it. I'd like to have the money, for sure, if I'm not using that automobile. But when you think about that, if the renter, person hits a pothole, and doesn't bend the wheel, but certainly damages some undercarriage, you'd never know it until the tire started to wear. I think the liability there, and of course they have the $1 million policy, but I guess it's not tuned for me for sure. But then again, that's one thing about our great nation is we all have our own little independent beliefs and wishes and likes and dislikes, but nonetheless, Maven is successful, and you think about new ideas. Then, like I talked about the SAE, and I'll share that with you next. You think of new ideas that come along the transportation industry, which is what we're in, which affects, I think, 1 out of every 6 individuals in the United States, the transportation industry. And when you think about that, it's huge. I mean, I'm not talking about buying new cars. I'm not talking about repairing old cars, used cars, which is an old car. I mean, you buy a new car and drive it off the curb, it becomes a used old car. I mean, that's it. You lose 27 to 30%. So, you do the math. You pay 10 grand for it. Not that you can buy a new car for 10 grand. You pay 100 grand for a new car, and it's worth 75. When you drive around, if you drove around the block and come back and say, I changed my mind. I want you to buy this car back. And a gentleman that was one of our vendors and a friend of mine, Eric, actually bought a new Mini Cooper and bought his wife one. Then he liked it, so he bought a Clubman for himself. And then they came out with another little hatchet top, the Mini Cooper that had looks like they took a regular Mini Cooper and somebody put a saucer on top of it. I forget the name of the coupe now. But he put 900 miles on his Clubman, and he traded it back in. And I said, oh, man, I didn't know you had that kind of money. He said, what do you mean? I said, to take a beating like that, the dealer's not going to give you. He said, Bobby, they gave me back every dime I paid for that car. I didn't know what to say. I really didn't. And as it turned out, he was one of the first peeps to get the Clubman. And they wanted the Clubman because they could sell it. And they were selling the Clubman over invoice, which I don't agree with, but hey, I'm not a dealer. Here's a question from Jim Mail. Jim Mail. Say, who is Jim Mail? I seem to remember. Oh, it's Captain Jim. He's a Watch Bobby listener and a viewer from Las Vegas, Nevada. So here's the bottom line. What does Bobby think about that? In 12 years, there will be no more internal combustion engines, aircraft engines, or I'm not going to go there. So the green list legislation coming out of D.C., I know that, if you've not heard of this, I received last evening a note from a friend of mine, and I'm on his, I think I'll call to get off his list, but I'm on his political list. And, and I really don't like those lists. I really don't wish to care to get into politics and what have you. And we've got a couple of people that call from around the nation, a couple of guys that are hell-bent for leather to mix and mingle politics and Bobby Likis car clinic. And that's not the case at all. Having said that, make no mistake about it, we will have to see federally mandated regulations for self-driving cars that apply to every state before you'll ever see any of those cars in any state. Maybe with the exception of California, because California is like 6 years ahead of us. But the green list, as it turned out, is a legislation that's coming out of D.C., and it's a proposed, actually, you should check it out. I read some of it. I scanned it last night, and I can tell you I am not for it. So there you go. I won't get into that. But Captain Jim, I know you're tuned in right now. That green list, there are 4 or 5 or 6 individual topics along the way, and one of them has to do with being taken care of, whether you have a job or not, or willing to work or not. So if somebody's not willing to work, then they don't get my support. So that's what I think about the green list. And okay, I said I wasn't going to get into politics. Well, I didn't, more or less. Okay, let's jump ship here then. 888 Car Clinic. So you can call and give your opinion. Fancy that. I'd love to hear what you think about your car. See, I shift back into shift, get it, pun. SAE standards. Okay, so here's the level. Level 0. You are driving whenever you are driving whenever these driver support, the printing is so small here, features are engaged, even if your feet are off the pedals and you are not steering. That's what does the human do in the driver's seat. Well, what do you have to do at level 0? Level 0, you must constantly supervise these support features. You must steer, brake, or accelerate as needed to maintain safety. And then there's level 1, you're not driving. And then there's level 2 with other features where the features will steer the car, will stop the car. And then all the way up to level 5, which is you can tell the car, I want to go to the country club, or I want to go to the dentist, or I want to go to the corner store, and tell it, obviously where that is, and give it the coordinates. You have to convey your mental wishes to the vehicle, and the vehicle takes you there. Now, make no mistake about this. It has been my goal, no, not a goal. It's been my little dream, fantasy. There you go, my fantasy, that I'm sitting in a downtown restaurant. Okay, say I'm at the District, which is a fantastic new restaurant here along the Gulf Coast, here in Pensacola. And it's just steak and fish, and I can't say enough good things about it that my good friend Wilbur Mitchell dreamed about and made it come to fruition, and it has excelled and exceeded expectations. So we're sitting at the District, and I'm there with friends and family, and I said, well, it's time to go. and I say, and I pick up my phone, I push a button, and I say into my phone, some whatever name, or Jag, come and pick me up. And all of a sudden, in a few minutes, my car drives around with no driver and pulls up to the front door and waits. And I've often wanted to do that in front of somebody and have the back of the seat, have steering in the back. There are people that have already done this, and have steering in the back of the seat, back of the car, so that you can't see who's steering or if anyone is it. And you look through the front and there's nobody in the car, and I would, it would be a practical joke. I think it would be a practical joke, or maybe I just would drive off into the sunset and they'd say, well, how did he do that? That's strange, huh? Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to ponder that. I'm going to take a top of the hour break. I'm going to come back in the second hour, and we're going to take more of your calls. And I'm going to tell you about a new award that Motorrad, our partner sponsors, Motorrad, was just awarded from Factory Motor Parts. They were named Automotive Industry Leader of the Year. Motorrad.com. Check them out. I'll tell you a little more about that in next hour's broadcast. In the meantime, stay safe, take care of your car, and I'm Bobby Likis. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Winter is an especially important time to be car care aware. Here are a few suggestions courtesy of the Car Care Council. Days are shorter, so make sure interior and exterior lights are working properly. Best way to warm your engine? Drive gently at the start. Double check your emergency kit, and don't forget your ice scraper and snow brush. For more great tips, visit carcare.org. And while you're there, order your free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove box. That's carcare.org. Berryman's B12 Chem Tool features HEST, or High Energy Solvent Technology. Using a combination of stronger solvents, HEST technology helps maximize one-tank cleanup of intake valves, fuel injectors, carburetors, and combustion chambers. But don't take our word for it. According to Stephen B., Berryman products have been part of my automotive care and maintenance program since 1996. From additives and cleaners to sealants, Berryman products are a must for any gearhead and automotive enthusiast. Learn more about Berryman B12 Chem Tool and other great products at berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulsiford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulsiford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's vehicle protection program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Ride along with us and give us your input with regard to your automobile. Maybe there's a local service provider, a local service shop, whether it's an independent or a chain or a new car dealership that really served you well and did a great service for you. I mean, we always hear the other side, you know, like, oh, I took my car in and it cost me a fortune, or they didn't do the job right, or what have you. And really, it's difficult, if not, it's not impossible, but it's very difficult to correct the issues that cars have when they come into a service shop. And here's why. As a rule, the car takes the owner in. The car refuses to go another step, another wheel, another turn of a wheel without making a noise or throwing up or breaking down, up, down, sideways, you name it. And then finally the owner says, there's a challenge here. And a lot of times it is the wife in the house that says, honey, I got a problem with this car. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. 6 months later, the car breaks down. I told you about that 6 months ago. So those are the kind of situations you can stay out of. How? By calling us at 888-227-2546. That's 888 Car Clinic. Hannah will take your call when I come back. This car repair spotlight brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. This week, we had an F-150 in with 125,000 miles and extreme brake noise. Our inspection determined it needed new pads, rotors, and one wheel bearing. So we reached out to our local O'Reilly Auto Parts professional, ordered the Brake Best pads and the Brake Best Select rotors. We chose the Brake Best Select rotors because they're factory painted, which stops the normal rust and corrosion seen on rotor hardware. During the brake job, we made sure to treat the caliper slides with Seal Glide so the calipers move freely, pads wear evenly, and the brake pedal has that firm feel. Disc brakes can feel a bit spongy when the caliper has any corrosion or rust buildup. Bottom line, new brakes should work just like the vehicle's brakes did when it came off the showroom floor. This F-150's owner was happy to have his truck back, roadworthy and on time. Another great reason our first call for parts is O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. We recently had an 09 Honda Pilot come into the shop with 169,000 miles on the odometer. The vehicle owner said the cabin was starting to smell like coolant, and he was concerned. Upon closer inspection, we found a heater core leak. Choices were to keep the vehicle and make a repair, which at best is half a day's labor plus parts, or sell the vehicle and buy a different used car that could have its own set of problems. We presented a third option, K-Seal. You've heard me talk about K-Seal before. Well, I don't just talk about it, we actually use the product in our service shop. It's a pour-in solution designed to stop leaks and help prevent future leaks. Other sealers use sodium silicate, which has a tendency to clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology that's designed to repair the leak without clogging. Our customer went with K-Seal, and 1 month later, no more leak. Learn more about K-Seal at kseal.com. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's kick this show off. I will invite you to give us a call. Hannah will take your call and put you in the queue, and I'll put you on the air at 888-CAR-CLINIC. That's 888-227-2546. Before I get too deep into automotive services, I want to applaud one of our partner sponsors, and that would be Motorrad. Factory Motor Parts has named Motorrad the automotive industry leader as Vendor of the Year. And for your information, Motorrad is a global leader in providing innovative products and solutions to the OEMs, that would be the new car manufacturers, Tier 1 suppliers, and aftermarket industries. That would be yours truly, would be involved there. And they were recently recognized as Vendor of the Year by Factory Motor Parts. And Matt Buchholz is the president and GM of Motorrad, and here's what Matt had to say. Being recognized as Vendor of the Year by FMP is an honor that we deeply value, and it's a reflection of our core values at Motorrad. That from Matt Buchholz, who is the president and GM of Motorrad. And folks, just for you to know, this product that we use, that I promote here on Bobby Likis Car Clinic, also supplies the OEMs. That's the original equipment manufacturers, car makers. And Motorrad has led the way in manufacturing and delivering exclusive engine and thermal management products and solutions. And what's more, the company remains on trend with products that are first to market and still continues to comply with tough industry standards. And I'll close with this by just saying they now offer for you cam and crank position sensors. That's right, the sensors that are so essential for a well-running, healthy automobile engine today, that it's computer controlled. Also, if you drive a Ford or a Lexus or a Toyota, ignition coils. Well, actually, for all the manufacturers, that's a high mortality rate. So your Motorrad supplies ignition coils as well as mass airflow sensors and the ever popular, and we use them every day, VVT. What's a VVT? It's a variable valve solenoid, and it times the actual camshafts with relation to the crankshaft. Motorrad, check them out. Motorrad USA. We'll take a call on line 5 there from Mary coming up. I just thought I'd give you that information. And then a little later in the program, you're going to hear about, I've mentioned this several times, actually a month ago, Jonathan Sloan, who is about 20 feet from me or 15 feet from me in the other room, in the control room. That's right, they have the control. I have the mic, but Fabio has the control of the mic, and for sure, mentioned about a digital license plate. A digital so my mind just raced and, well, what's a digital license plate? So we actually, and this is the other way around, usually PR firms call us and say, well, we'd like to get the vice president of General Motors or Kia, like James Bell from Kia, on your program. And because, quite candidly, we're promoting their product. But I think it's good content, and I want you to know the latest on the Kia, like the Telluride, which is the SUV that James Bell, what did he say, Fabio? He said it's a big box. He said it's an SUV that doesn't have all the chopped top and the pizzazz of today's modified SUVs. It is a real grocery getter. You put your stuff in it. That's about what he said. And I've seen pictures. I haven't seen the vehicle, but it's a Telluride, and it was a concept, and now they're coming out with, and if I know Kia, it will be a whale of an SUV. I might even consider one if I were an SUVer. I'm not an SUVer, but to that end, we invited Neville Boston, who is the co-founder and CEO of Reviver. Reviver is a company that makes digital license plates. Right. They're legal in 3 states, California, Michigan, and Arizona. I think to be legal in California, okay, I get it. But to be legal in Michigan is a huge accomplishment for Reviver. So we're going to hear from Neville soon, but let's take a call from Nebraska, and your call is important. 888-227-2546. Mary, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thank you for holding.
You're welcome.
Well, what can I do for you today?
We have a 2000 Solara, has about 185,000 miles on it, and it keeps losing oil. So usually my husband has to put in a quart every maybe 10 days. So he thinks now. And so I guess just wondering how to troubleshoot it. I have previously used, but it's been a little while, some of that Likis in the blue.
Good product.
Blue front on it.
Let me ask a question, Mary. Does it leak oil, or is it losing oil? It's using oil, so it doesn't leak oil, right?
No, it's leaking oil, I think.
Losing?
I don't think it's burning yet.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Losing or leaking?
Losing or leaking, Brian? Leaking. Leaking.
Well, if it's leaking oil, fix it. I mean, if there's a leak, and not to oversimplify, but the first thing, it would have to be leaking a lot of oil. For how often does he have to add oil?
Usually about a quart every 10 days or so.
Well, it must be pouring oil.
We can't see it actually pouring, but
a quart of oil. Let me tell you something. You can put a teacup or a teaspoon of oil on a driveway and let it leach, and I will tell you, it'll make a spot darn near a foot. And if a quart would cover your, I don't know, probably a quart would cover 25% of your garage in a two-car garage. And so,
it must be when he's driving it. Must be when he's driving it, because we don't have that much oil on it. Parked outside.
Well, I think you probably have both. Mary, I think you probably have both. Here's what I would do. First thing to do, I would go to a local service provider. Yes, a repair shop. And I would say what I'd like for you to do are two things. I'd like for you to, number one, clean my engine. Now, you can follow this step. You're not going to spend a lot of money up front, but you need to get the right information so that when you do spend your money, it's spent wisely. That is where it's not about spending. I have found that car owners don't mind spending money. What they mind is surprises where it costs them more than what they thought because of lack of communication with the service desk. That's the biggest problem we have, that and technicians in the automotive service. But here's what my direction for you and your husband. Okay, are you ready? You ready for this?
Yeah, I told my husband on the radio so he could hear what he was
saying.
Okay,
all right. Here you are, husband. He's back there on the radio. He's listening. She's doing the talking. Here's what I want you to do. Go to a local shop. Ask them to clean the engine, inspect it, and clean it if it needs to be cleaned, and add dye to the crankcase.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, well, I mean, and then drive that vehicle no more than 100 miles or 3 days. That's about an average, okay? 3 days or 100 miles, and go back to that shop and let them use their ultraviolet glasses to determine where the bulk of the oil. That is the first step. And only when you get past the first step can you get to the second step. So, Mary, thank you so much for your call there. Where do you live in Nebraska?
Kearney, and right in the middle of the state.
I know where Kearney is. I've been to Kearney. I have lots of friends. I have lots of friends, and I have lots of friends, and I have friends in high places there.
Great.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your call, Mary. Good luck.
Thank you. Bye.
Who was it that had friends in low places? Fabio, what was his name? You probably don't even know that song.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, you're an entertainer. You know what that is.
Garth Brooks.
Garth Brooks. Yeah, I knew the answer to that. First time. Rarely do I ask a question that I don't know the answer already. Well, that's not true. A lot of times I ask because I don't know the answer. But I'm going to ask Neville some questions. Neville Boston. It's going to be interesting. I don't know this gentleman, but we're going to find out about the digital license plate. So for those of you who are talking with Hannah or thinking of calling, now would be a good time to call in, because when we come back from the break, I have a lot of questions to ask Neville, but it's a digital license plate. Think about that. So what does that mean? And what if the battery runs out in the digital license plate? That's a good question. Well, surely it's got batteries. Well, I mean, so anyway, that's what's going to happen. And you stay tuned. And when we come back from this break, we'll see what Neville has to say about the digital world. Don't touch that dial. This Engine Care Spotlight is brought to you by Walker Products, a leading manufacturer of quality fuel system components and engine sensors. Today's vehicles are being pushed to new heights with increased fuel economy and fewer tailpipe emissions, which has created the need for a smarter and more sophisticated exhaust after-treatment system, featuring an array of sensors designed to help monitor and control the different aspects of vehicle operation and health. The EGT, or exhaust gas temperature sensor, plays a major role in multiple processes, and it's critical that the EGT is performing within their limits. But not all EGT sensors are created equal. Housing styles and materials vary, in addition to resistance types and temperature ratings. It's imperative that a consumer replace their EGT sensor with a correct OEM factory-style sensor. Walker Products has been supplying the automotive aftermarket since 1946 and manufactures all of its EGTs using only OEM-based sensors. Need a new sensor? Walker Products offers OE quality at aftermarket prices. Drive to walkerproducts.com. We recently worked on an 03 Buick Park Avenue with a 3.8 engine, and the vehicle had been a workhorse, 190,000 miles and more. That said, fuel economy had slipped from 24 mpg to 19. On cold startup, the check engine light flashed. In addition to rough idling, engine fuel trim pointed toward carbon issues. A quick scan revealed random misfire code P0300. The codes were cleared, and after a visual inspection of the ignition system and fuel filter change, we added a can of Berryman B12 Chem Tool to a fresh tank of fuel. After a 400-mile round trip and a second can of Berryman B12 Chem Tool, fuel economy was back to 24 miles per gallon and idle quality was restored. Many times, complex running issues are traced to carbon issues on today's vehicles. Fuel system maintenance starts with simple tank additives as the first step in carbon cleaning your engine. The next time your vehicle is sluggish or experiencing fuel economy that's not up to par, try Berryman B12 Chem Tool. Learn more at berrymanproducts.com. That's berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip.
From Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, folks. What a great program. I'll take your car questions really soon at 888 Car Clinic. If you're one of my Facebook followers, you've seen the splash about digital license plates on my page. And as you Car Clinic listeners and viewers know, I'm very much on board with advanced technologies. So I'm most interested in digital license plates. That's right, you heard me right. On the Car Clinic hotline with me now is Neville Boston, CEO and co-founder of Reviver, which produces the multi-function digital license plate, the R plate. We'll find out more about that coming up right now. Neville, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house.
Man, glad to be a part.
What an interesting concept. I can't say that I haven't thought about as anytime I think we all, as human nature, we hear of something, we say, oh, I should have done that. Well, this is one of those, I wish I had done that, because I think it's a fantastic. My concern was the legality of it, and I can't wait, and I'm going to ask you about that a little bit later, but what is the R plate and how does it work?
Okay, what the R plate is a communication portal. It's a digital. One thing that it does is that gives compliance. It's a license plate, but it does so much more. And you have the ability to do over-air registration for your license plate, but it also allows for you to pay for your parking and tolling. It is kind of a control point that allows information to be shared. Like if something happened to your car was stolen, you have the ability to present that on the plate. If a child was lost, you can put an Amber Alert on it. If an elderly person was lost, you can put Silver Alert. You can put information as it comes to inclement weather. It is, the 21st century's, way of communicating with, drivers, and it's wholly unique. So, what it is basically we've digitized the plate for communication, but we've opened up a myriad of really interesting things that you can do based on the technology. The license plate hadn't been, renewed or revived in over 125 years, and we felt like this was the perfect place to have an always-on kind of connected platform that really interacts with you and the road.
So you mentioned that's intriguing. There's so much information. I have so many questions. So here we go. Let's say that on my plate I have CARCLNC, which is, and that's all the letters that will fit on the Florida tag, and it says Car Clinic. That's short for Car Clinic, and I use that specifically and have for years. So I could put that on my digital R plate, and I could color it. I mean, what's legal? And well, I'll get into that a little bit later. How many states are legal, and how many do you see in the future being legalized? But gosh, as I said, so many questions. I'm sorry. Here's one.
No.
I mean, it's fabulous, Neville. Here's the bottom line. Let's say someone steals my car. Now my car is gone. How do I change the plate? Because my car is gone and the plate's on it.
Well, this is the thing. You have the ability with the plate. It has a GPS, so you can enable it as the owner of the vehicle or disable it. So if your vehicle is stolen, you're able to enable and basically track where your plate is going. You could then share that information with law enforcement to help you retrieve your vehicle. We're, in the process of expanding this and, going into other states. One of the states that's very close to you that's going to be running legislation, the person who's running the bill, he came to me and said, listen, I've been in law enforcement for 30 years. He was like, a technology like this could have helped to save lives because you have an ability to, one, identify, that issue, and two, you have the ability to get the information to actually do something about it. And that's what I think technology should be. It should be a way that communities can help each other with it. It shouldn't just be about, how's this a benefit just for just me, but I look at it as, from a community perspective, as a way that we can help each other. And I think that, utilizing technology like this, when you think about it, one, yes, it can help you find your car. Two, if there was information that needed to be communicated about inclement weather with other vehicles on the road, you're able to communicate that as well. And then it's an easy way for you now not to have to go to the DMV and update your tag from your app, which is how we live our lives today. So you're able to take your digital footprint from your cell phone and then input that information into your vehicle and now have a myriad of additional features that you can utilize. So it's a way to live your life as seamlessly as we're doing with the new digital age that we're in.
So to be clear, and folks, we're talking with Neville Boston, CEO and co-founder of Reviver. I see this as a license plate. Okay, so it has, I guess, LEDs, and it's colorable, and then you can change the numbers depending on registration, and it has a GPS. So with regard to like self-driving automobiles, it's more connectivity to the car. And one thing you said, which I'm on board with, one thing that you said is very intriguing, and I want to make sure that our Car Clinic listeners understand the total picture. It's more than just a license plate. It is actually a locator device as well. Is that not the case?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think what people do initially when they think about it, they think it's just a digital plate. So you've gone from a piece of stamped aluminum to now a digital piece of stamped, digital process. But it's not that. You cannot look at it as just a license plate. A license plate in compliance is one thing that this plate does. It does a myriad of other things. And yes, you're correct. It's a way in which you can now identify where your vehicle is. It's a way that you can now communicate with those around you, a status. It allows you to integrate with the world around you because you're able to use it, for bridge tolls, also for parking. When it comes to AVs, autonomous vehicles, it will be part of the vehicle-to-vehicle, vehicle-to-infrastructure, connectivity point, because now you have an opportunity and an ability to be able to communicate with the city around you. So those are the things that you can now do with this type of technology. And what's nice about it is that it's a piece of initial hardware, but you can update it. You can update it over air, and that allows you to really configure it to its best use. And I think that that's what's different about it. Think about the advent of, going from a flip phone to a smartphone. And then you realize on the smartphone, one of the last things that you do with it is talk on it. You do everything else. You pay your bills. You will manipulate a document. You will check your email. You will search and look up information. And then you also talk on it. So that's not the leading piece of how you utilize the technology, is not for literally communication between people by voice. It's one of the things that's done with it, but it's probably 20%. It's so much more than that. And the same way the plate is. So I think people get caught up sometimes thinking like, oh, it's a fat piece of metal and has, limited things that it can do. No, it's just the opposite. It's a digital format, and it has unlimited things that it can do.
So what powers it? Is it wireless to the car? Do I have to change or get into the electronic architecture of my vehicle to install it?
Okay, so two things. There is, right now, we have a wired product that if you've got a fob for your trunk and you can open your trunk, remotely, then you can connect to constant 12-volt power, which will power the plate. Very soon, we will have one that is completely battery operated, so you'll have the choice between the two. But, right now, what we have in the market is a wired plate.
Okay. And that plate is the same size as the registration plate. Is it
Absolutely.
LED? Is it LED and backlit?
No, it's not. So it's not LED. And the reason why is that LED, you have to have constant power.
Okay.
What it is e-paper. So it's like the Amazon Kindle. It's bistable, and what that means, it makes no ambient draw and needs no power to show an image. So what was a quirk became a feature. If there's an image on e-paper, it locks that image. And what's nice about it, it operates just like a metal plate. So if you have your car at the airport and say it was there a month because you were traveling, when you come back, you start your car, your license plate is still visible the entire time. There's no change. And that's why we use this technology. Also, it was because of the temperature range. It can go from negative 40 to 85 C, so up to about 180 degrees. So it gives you the ability to utilize it in all kinds of temperatures.
Mm-hmm. So who makes the R plate? And let's discuss Reviver. Just information about you and or your company, and who's making the R plate for your company.
Well, okay, so we have contract manufacturers that actually make it. Reviver is a company that is built on innovation. We've made the world's first digital plate and platform, and that's what we focus on, and that's what we do. One of the things that you had asked earlier is where is it available? Well, it's been sold since June of 2018 in California. It has been completely legalized for utilization in Arizona and in Michigan. We will have an additional 6 states, in addition to the states that I just mentioned, that will be utilizing the technology between now and the end of the year. And then we're working with our neighbors to the north on rolling out plates, in addition to, Dubai as well. We've been working a proof of concept with them over the last year. We're actively working with them on this technology. So it should be in 2 countries, and we should encompass a little over 8 states this year alone.
Wow. So here's the plan going forward. Due to our limited time per segment, I'm going to, number one, thank you for joining us today. This is Neville Boston, CEO and co-founder of Reviver. And also, Neville, as you go along this year, in the year of 2019, and gather more states, and also maybe can share with me a prototype, I would like to have you back on the air for an update, because this is one of those technological, I think, breakthroughs that is so applicable to every car owner. I mean, the use of it is as stated, but it's not a tag for your car. It's much more than that. So I really appreciate the time. I think it's a terrific idea, but due to the time constraints, I will have to get you back on. Terrific, fabulous idea, folks. That's Reviver. And the website, what's the website?
Is www.reviver.com.
Hey, thanks so much for joining us. Terrific idea. I look forward to having you back, and we'll be reaching out. Again, folks, this was Neville Boston, CEO and co-founder of Reviver, which is a digital license plate and more. Neville, thanks for joining us on Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Terrific.
Man, thank you so much for the opportunity. I look forward to keeping you updated on our progress.
I had so many questions, folks, and thank you for holding Mary and Cheryl and Brad. When I come back from the break, you are next up. A digital license plate? Really? I love it. Talking tunes? No, not the ones on your radio. The ones that allow you to reprogram your vehicle's factory computer without even popping the hood. The result is more power, more torque, and a better overall driving experience. We recently sat down with Jim McGinn, Vice President of Marketing for Power Tech. Jim touched on some of the additional products Diablo Sport has to offer.
In addition to the Diablo Sport lineup of tuners, Diablo Sport also offers Jammer cold air intake systems and Hooker Blackheart exhaust kits. These kits work in concert with the Predator 2, Intune i3, and Trinity 2 programmers to deliver increased fuel economy, mileage, and overall performance for your gas truck or SUV.
Folks, Diablo Sports performance products make the perfect holiday gift, and now is a perfect time to buy with their holidays savings. How cool is that? You get up to 20% off SRP on their extensive lineup of premium performance products. Learn more at DiabloSport.com. That's DiabloSport.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
This is a digital voice. Welcome back to. Okay. All right. Okay. A little humor. Or as my deceased friend Swain would say, darn little Likis. Let's go to Nebraska and take a call from Cheryl. Cheryl, thank you for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Well, this is Cheryl's husband.
Oh, I want to speak to Cheryl.
Cheryl just got out of the car to go to work.
Okay. Okay. Well, what's your name?
I'm Jim.
You're Jim. Okay, Cheryl's husband, Jim. What can I do for you?
Got a 2007 Cadillac DTS. We have problems with the headlight not always coming on or shut. Once they're on, they tend to shut off for no apparent reason. Sometimes the left side, sometimes the right side.
The first thing that I would recommend would be to check the headlight connectors where the headlight bulb. This is not necessarily for you to do, and I'll tell you why. Number one, they're extremely hot headlight connectors, so much so that many OEMs or many brands of cars, I can think of, Mercedes comes to the top first, actually has, when a wire burns out, you have to replace the wire and harness, unless a lot of the same wire ends burn out, then the manufacturer or other aftermarket companies like Dorman will make a kit. So Mercedes makes a kit, and as well as GM and Ford, and as I said, Dorman, and I'm sure Lexus and Toyota, that replaces the end of the wire that plugs onto the headlight. I'm not saying that's your problem, but that's my first inspection that I would do, would be to look at the plug that plugs onto the headlight. And I'll tell you, you might be able to do this, Jim. You might be able to, how long will they stay out? If the light, say, went out, could you pull over? Let me back up. If you knew where the wire was, maybe one side might be easier to access. I don't mean that you could take it apart. I mean if you could reach down in there with your hand and wiggle the wire itself. And that's possible, but like in my car, I can't get to the lights, but I can see the wires going into the lights, so I could pull on the wire and tug on the wire. What I would recommend for you to do is, number one, look under the hood in the daylight when you don't use the lights and determine, okay, this is easy for me to get to this side, one side or the other. And then have your handy-dandy flashlight and drive the car. And whenever one light goes out, one or the other, hopefully it's the one that's easiest to get to, find a place to pull over, leave the car running, leave the lights on, make sure you're off safely of the highway, pop the hood, and go to that wire that you've already seen and know where it is, shine your flashlight, wiggle that wire, boop, 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 boop. If the light comes on, you know it is that connector. If it does not, then you'll know that is deeper in the architecture of the car. In any case, you're going to have to take it to a service shop, because there are other components that control headlights versus just the headlight and the headlight bulb itself. So that's what
we have taken it to a service shop with the light on, and they can't find anything wrong. They could not get the lights to shut off.
Well, no, that's because you're in a shop. That's why I'm advising you to, number one, find the tickler place where you're going to tickle the wire, and then drive the car. And when it acts up with you, which it will do, and here's the reason, Jim, electronics, erratic operating electronics rarely act up in a service shop, because, number one, the car's cooled down, so it's not being used on a regular basis over time, and you can't pay a technician to get in a car and go drive it for 20 miles or take it to a trip, or so there are a lot of reasons why we can't in our industry duplicate what it is to the owner, and that happens often. And when that does, we invite the owner down and said, hey, show us. And to that end, before I let you go, Jim, that's why I always recommend that when you take your car in, when your car has erratic behavior, you take your car in, you have an appointment set up, and I'd make it, after 10 o'clock in the morning, so the rush of cars has gone through, and you get a technician to come and ride with you. Don't turn the car off. You drive, and you show the technician what your car's doing you don't like, and then you pull over and let the technician drive. Now you're on the same page. So that's my two suggestions. But first, you can shake the wire, as long as you know where the wire is to shake, and you do that up front, so that at nighttime, and I won't repeat myself. You got it?
Yeah. Can I add a little extra into this?
I have 10 seconds for you.
Yeah. When in the cold part of the year, when you start the car, there's a popping sound in the roof of the car, and lately we have had problems with our horn starting to honk for no apparent reason in the middle of the night. So we've disconnected the horn to stop that. But
well, your horn, you're okay. In closing, Jim, your horn is going to be probably the horn pad, because the horn pad deteriorates with sun and UVs, and the horn switch itself is deteriorated, and there's a strip there that has two contacts that are separated by, and most of the time, they're two copper strips, and they are very close proximity, and they're separated by a nylon, but yet when you touch them, you force them together. So your horn pad or horn button is probably deteriorated to the point that in the cold weather, what do things do in the cold weather? They contract, and when they do, it blows the horn. And that's what I would say that would be for you. Hey, thanks for your call, and I wish you good luck. We'll take another call from Brad. Brad, thank you for holding. It's your turn. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hello, Bobby. How are you doing?
Terrific. How about you, sir?
Pretty good. I'm calling about carbon buildup on the intake valves in these newer engines.
Sure. Absolutely.
We're looking at purchasing our next vehicle, a minivan. And because we're looking at used, it's already going to have a pretty good buildup on these engines. These new DGI, direct gas injection engines, are a good idea. They give you better fuel economy, better performance, but they created a monster, as you know, because there's no more fuel rushing over the backside of the intake system and the valves. They get carbon buildup. I've been doing a lot of research, looking at YouTube videos. There's several sources for this buildup, but the biggest one, in secondary to no more fuel cleaning the valves off, but the biggest buildup problem, Bobby, from what I've been finding out, is through the PCV, positive crankcase ventilation system. They're putting all the fumes, all the gases, all the sludge, all the buildups from your crankcase right back over the backside of those valves, and it gets hot and baked on there and builds up.
That's correct.
Some manufacturers have different intervals that happens. That's some as low as 30,000 miles. Depends on where you live, how you drive, who made the engine, whether it's got a turbo. Now, I have talked to I think his name was Rusty at your shop, and he explained to me that you guys have a cleaning process for that it's not cheap. But something I wanted to find out from you, because I didn't really know, because it's not a new technology, but it's not a total fix, but it's the addition of a oil catch can in line with your PVC system. Have you ever heard of one of those?
Sure. We talked about it all. We did research on that 2 weeks ago, and a catch can that people swear by. I had a gentleman call from California or Washington, I forget now, that swears by his catch can and said the spark plugs are cleaner. Obviously, the intake's cleaner. I have a concern for adding a catch can to today's engines, and that is because what you are doing in essence is you're interrupting the design or modifying the design of the engine. And I will specifically mention, because it's top of mind for me, the Smart car had, when it's originally imported in 2008, that particular engine had a PCV valve that was located so in such a place under the intake manifold you had to drop the engine to get to it. It's ridiculous. But nonetheless, you could also remove the intake manifold. You couldn't get it out and move it aside and very carefully reach down in there. Johnny Bars, our master ASE shop foreman and service tech, absolutely has repaired 2 or 3 of those, including yours truly recently. Having said that, what happens is that has a catch can built into the block, which is an area that separates oil from vapor, albeit never really separating oil from vapor, because vaporized oil is still going to float to some extent unless you run it through multiple rooms like shaped like a W, like an air cleaner works. So you have this vaporized oil mist that runs through these several wafer type rooms that are actually like a house of mirrors, and the only thing that gets out is the cleaner, not clean, but cleaner vapor, but still some oil goes back into the intake. Catch can, yes, we do not install catch cans. We have never installed a catch can. I did on my dragster, but that's for a different reason. Because you have so much current case pressure, you got to have a place. It's a puke can more than it is a catch can. But in a passenger car like you're buying, the only thing that you can do every 30,000 miles, and the industry calls for every 15,000 miles, but we don't position it because people think we would be selling them something because they're not as ambitious as you, or they're not as good of a car care person. They don't go online and look at the consequences of not doing anything. So I would say to you, Brad, that yeah, we can clean it using chemical procedures and a physical procedure, but the only way to truly clean it we don't offer, and that is to take the intake manifold off. We've done this on an Audi. We don't do it regularly, nor have we done it since. Take the intake manifold off, take a toothbrush, a steel toothbrush, automotive, and chemicals, put the piston on top dead center with the valves closed, and scrub. And that is physically taxing, it's labor intensive. It's the only way you can remove all of the buildup. And I too worry about the same thing on my car. I've got a gasoline direct injection V8 5-liter engine, and I pay particular attention to how it idles, because that will affect. That's the first thing that I'm going to notice is a little blurb or so in the idle when mine reaches the point. And I've cleaned mine every 35,000 miles. Mine's coming up because I've got 62,000. At 64,000, 65,000, I will do the second purge of the intake, but I will not take the engine apart. Why? Why would you take a healthy engine apart? Because as sure as you do, if you're in the industry, something's going to happen. A plastic connector is going to break because the heat and so the liability far exceeds the return on investment. So the only thing you can do is use a chemical and use a chemical base, and we do that, and it's non-invasive, and that's what we offer. Hey, thanks so much for your call, Brad. We'll take another call from Texas. Steve, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thank you for holding.
Good morning, Bobby.
Morning,
How
sir.
are you?
Terrific.
I've got a question on a 2006 Chevy Silverado, where this started about 3 weeks ago, where when I got to a half a tank, all of a sudden the gas gauge went to E, the gas light came on, I stopped, filled it up, it worked, and every now and then it'll go to E, the light will come on, and then it'll bounce back up. Now, I was told that on these 2006s and possibly a little bit older vehicle, that it might be the instrument cluster itself.
Well, let me say this. If you can definitively say that the cluster operates directly related to the amount of fuel in the tank, it is not the cluster. It is the tank sender unit within the tank.
Okay.
Because the electronics involved have no